What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Eddy Live podcast, episode number 203. As you can see, we are not at the restaurant right now. We are in Canada. So you guys get to join me on my trip to see my family all over Canada. Don't forget to subscribe. We've got lots of short clips coming up. And I want to introduce you tonight to my guest, who is actually my sister, Irlanda Gonzalez.
Hi, good evening, everyone.
So my sister has been climbing up in the university world in Canada, right? So maybe you can do a little bit of a intro about what you're doing right now.
Sure, thanks.
Yeah.
First of all, I'm so excited to have this opportunity to have this conversation with you. I watch the lives all the time, and seeing you here beside me is making me pretty excited. Before we get started, though, what we typically do at the university where I am the Associate Vice President of Student Affairs, which is Vancouver Island University, is it's really traditional and respectful for us to honor the Indigenous lands that we're on. And so today we're conducting business, and we're meeting you from the traditional territory of the Snuneymuxw people, where we raise our hands in gratitude and say Haichka for the opportunity to be here and conduct this business and to have this opportunity to be here. So as my brother said, I am working in post-secondary here in Canada, and I am at my third post-secondary institution. I started off at a college in Terrace, BC, and then moved over to a college in Alberta, and now I'm at a university here in Nanaimo, Vancouver Island in British Columbia.
All right, so you're a pro at this. Looks like you're doing a lot of mic work, yeah, at the university. Okay, beautiful. So let's go a little bit back to the beginning, because obviously, we grew up together and stuff. But I want to take a little bit of a look at Terrace, right? So you started kind of your career, really, in Terrace, which was Northwest Community College.
Yeah, that's correct.
At the time, right?
That's correct.
Now it's under a different name, you were saying?
It is.
Okay.
So I began my career post-secondary at Northwest Community College, which is now called Coast Mountain College, and that gave me so much opportunity to learn about different processes, different ways to support students, and really started my career in post-secondary. My training and education is in social work, as you know.
Yep,
so
of course.
My undergrad and graduate degrees are all in social work, and I did a lot of that frontline work for a long time. Mm-hmm. The only thing that was really missing from that kind of work for me was the actual ability to make long-term impact, and I think that education is the way to do that. Okay. And so then I made the jump from social work and Terrace into the post-secondary world.
So did you know all the time that you wanted to do kind of sort of the education route like what you're doing right now?
It's one of those careers that you don't know exists until you actually come across it.
Okay.
And so when I started my journey as a student, I was, or am, a first-generation learner, first person in my family to go to school, post-secondary, and graduate from a post-secondary. And so there are some extra challenges that first-generation learners come across because they don't necessarily have that support from the parents, because the parents don't know the systems.
Makes
sense. When I was a learner, I really had to advocate for myself and really had to inquire and really be very curious about the process and how to get to where to get the answers that I needed. And so that really kind of inspired me to start looking at this kind of work, because I had some really great people that helped me. Okay. And I wanted to kind of do the same thing for others.
Okay. And so how did your parents, our parents, how did they feel about you kind of being the one to take the post-secondary education kind of to the next level? How did that impact sort of your decision and your mindset?
Yeah. Well, I think about what it is to be a child of an immigrant. Yeah. Right? And I think about our parents left our countries for better lives for both of us, for all of us, my other brother as well.
Yes.
Very similar to all other immigrant stories, where you leave your home country, everything that you know, the language, the food, the customs, all of the things, to go somewhere different and try anew, which is kind of what you did when you went to Taiwan.
It is, right? yes, for sure.
So for us, it was watching me kind of navigate that and having the support that I did from my mom at home and my parents at home to be able to do that was what we needed, but also what they were hoping was going to happen. So they were always so supportive, and they always wanted us to do that. Yeah. It was just something foreign to them.
Okay, so like I know obviously when we grew up together, you were always really, you really enjoyed school, right? So I think that, where did that kind of come from? Because we were talking about our parents. Our parents are immigrants, and they encourage us to do school. But for example, myself, obviously I didn't do fantastic in secondary school and stuff like that. So where did you get kind of the motivation to step up and be like, I want to do this for myself. I kind of want to break the mold a little bit.
Yeah. Wow.
Okay. So,
That's a good question, because
okay. Just always had this sort of drive.
Well, I think when I thought about the sacrifices that our parents made for us, and I just wanted more, and I wanted to just try and do more. And my grades in high school were pretty high-ish.
No, they're good. Come on.
They weren't straight A's.
Okay.
But part of my learning for me was to get involved in the community. Okay. Right? And so remember, like, we volunteered for things. We coached soccer. We did summer games, winter games. We volunteered at church. We did all of that stuff. And I think every opportunity that gave me to meet people and see what other people were doing, I was like, wait a second, I can do that. Why can't I do that? And so that's the kind of stuff that really started to motivate me.
So do you feel now that, obviously we'll jump ahead a little bit, now that you have kids, right? You're married, you have three amazing kids, and my niece and nephews are amazing. So how do you feel that can maybe you influence them somewhat with school, or was it kind of like they rebelled a little bit, feel like, oh no, I don't really want to do well, or how did that work out?
It's funny because I remember when the boys were, well, my oldest boy was quite young, when Austin was quite young, and we were driving with him and a buddy, and we were in Terrace, and we were just driving, and the boys were sitting in the back seat, and one of the boys in the back seat, one of his best friends, said, "Oh, Austin, I hate school. I don't ever want to go to college or university." Yeah. And I was curious to see how Austin was going to respond. And he said, "Oh my God, that's a swear word in my house. Don't say you don't want to go to university or college." And then he kind of looked at me through the rearview mirror of the car with his big brown eyes. And he's like, "Mom, it's okay. I'll go to university or college, okay?"
That's so funny.
And so I think for me, it's about some kind of education and some kind of learning, and it doesn't have to be a formal degree or a diploma. That's fine. But there are so many vocations and trades and all of the other things that just not only give you some of that like formal training, but also the hands-on training that you'll need. So I mean, my kids, they've tried different things. They've gone into different programs. The boys are considering trades. My oldest son right now is in a trade program, and my daughter's now thinking of education. So it's one of those things also that takes time for students to choose.
I think it's one of the tough things when you're young. People, they kind of ask you to make the big life decision. I mean, in Taiwan, they ask you at a very young age, like junior high, they're asking, okay, which kind of vocational school and stuff do you want to go to? And I always found that's tough, because even 16, 17, 18, it's still a tough decision to make. But at like 15, I think it's kind of ridiculous. But I think that's a tough one. What about so you started at Northwest Community College, right? And what did you study there? That was the social work. I started with a social work diploma. 2-year diploma. And what made you decide to be like, okay, I'm going to go from here to the next step, which was
the degree, the 4-year degree.
Okay,
quite honestly, it was the fact that I'd worked so hard the first 2 years, and the jobs that I really wanted that were available in the community needed the degree, needed the 2 more years. So that was kind of my motivation to push myself. And then I did a lot of research on what would that mean for me job-wise. If I did finish the degree. And because we were also in the community that we were living in Terrace, they also had a satellite campus of another university. And so they brought that degree to Terrace, because at that point I already had Isabella, my second child. She was a baby.
Yeah,
So
it's tough. It's
I
tough.
did
Yeah.
it sort of the hard way with, having children in between. But with the fact that the University of Northern British Columbia opened up a campus in Terrace, and that offered the opportunity for me to do it while at home, while still being a mom and going to work.
Okay, so you would recommend that option to sort of someone who's in the similar situation, yeah?
Yeah, I think that it takes a lot.
Sure, yeah. Just being a mom or a dad or a parent takes a lot already, but to go back and keep rolling with that's huge.
Yeah, it's I say to my kids that everything is possible.
Okay, sure.
You just have to really put your mind to it. And I remember when I was finishing my degree and Isabella was a baby, that my study times were between 10 and 2 a.m. or 10 and 3 a.m. And then I'd go to sleep, wake up at 7:30, and then start the work day, the parent day, the everything all over again. So it's not, it's a more difficult way to do it, but it's definitely possible.
Okay. So that's kind of like the modern day, almost like side hustle. You do your regular job, you take care of your family, and then after everybody goes to sleep, then you start grinding it out again until the wee hours of the morning. Well, which is pretty amazing. Yeah. So you're talking about UNBC.
Yeah.
Is that the one that has the campus in Prince George, or
correct?
No?
Yeah.
Right. So they brought stuff over.
They did.
To Northwest.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they did. They opened a small satellite campus in Terrace.
Okay.
And they offered some degrees, and I think the beauty about being in small communities is that the government gives a mandate to both colleges and universities to provide education in the community. And so UNBC, which is where I ended up graduating with my master's degree as well.
I didn't even know that.
They have that. They're responsible for the northern part of the province.
Okay.
And so they did a really good job of opening campuses all over small communities.
That's amazing. Okay, so you got your master's there. All right.
Yep.
So from then, you were still living in Terrace, right? And working where? Where
at the college,
At the college still, okay.
Yep, so I was working at the college in Terrace, and then had the opportunity to move to another college in Alberta.
Okay.
And leaving home, as you know.
Yes, tough,
heartbreaking and so difficult.
I actually remember you calling me, right? You were calling me and you were telling me, look, I'm thinking about taking this kind of like almost like a dream step in my job, right? Like dream job.
Yeah.
But it's hard. I have to leave town, right? And you have the kids and your husband, and he has his own business and stuff like that. And I was already in Taiwan at the time, and we chatted for a while, and eventually, I told you that was a great decision for me to leave, right? And then, you said, okay, you're going to think about it. You're going to do what you got to do.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, within a month, you guys were gone. Right, within a month or so, I believe.
Yeah, it was like 6 weeks. It was pretty fast.
Yeah.
Once I made the decision to do it, because you're right, that talking to you at that time, I remember thinking, like, if he could do it when he was so young, moving to a country where he didn't even understand the language and understand the culture, and still be there so many years later, and be thriving, I can do it. I can do it. So had a really good conversation with my husband, and we had the ability to move the company wherever we needed to go, so that was okay.
Okay.
And he said to me, I remember sitting with him at a restaurant, and I said, I don't know, this is a huge decision. What do we do? Mm-hmm. And he looked me straight in the face, and he said, you've worked really hard. And I said, yeah, I've worked really hard. He's like, you've got all the things you wanted. Yeah, I've got all that done.
Yes.
And then he said, do you want a job? Or do you want a career?
Okay.
And I was like,
wow, Rob.
All right. Okay. No, I want a career. And he's like, then we got to go. And so that was it. That was kind of all of those factors together. I thought, okay, we need to do this. The most difficult part was telling our mom.
It's tough, yeah.
That I was leaving.
Well, how'd that go? Because mom is very...
We were leaving?
Yeah. Mom, go ahead.
Well, because we were, she grew up with the kids around her, my kids, we grew up all together. You were the first one to leave, and that devastated her.
Yeah.
And so then when I told her that we were going to go, she just, she was pretty upset and pretty sad, but also was really supportive and said, yeah, this is why you work so hard. This is why we moved here to Canada. These are the opportunities, so you have to go. Like, go, Mika, go, right?
Okay.
Yeah. And so then from there I went to a great college in southern Alberta Medicine Hat College, where I had the opportunity to work there as an associate vice president of student development, and created a lot of their Indigenous programming and a lot of the things that were happening, that were new things that were happening in that area in student affairs. Yeah, and I was there for 5 years, and that was a great opportunity. It was a huge, huge learning curve from the position that I held at.
So the jump from Northwest to Medicine Hat.
Yeah.
Like how was it like taking the family, loading up the U-Haul like they do in the movies?
Yeah, that's what we did.
Right?
Yeah.
And then load it up
Yeah.
and then drive out. It's like a, 18-hour drive or something?
Yeah, it's a little more than that. It's
More?
about 21-ish.
Okay.
Yeah,
There you go.
It's a pretty long drive, just the way that, the location is. Yeah, and I mean, we didn't even have a house secured until like the week before we left because everything was difficult to find as a rental.
Okay.
So we basically just pulled up to this house and we're like, met the landlord there, and thankfully it was a really decent house in a nice area. And
Nice
so
place.
It worked out.
I remember it was
it
was a beautiful place. I mean,
Yeah.
when we went to visit you guys, we were just kind of like, wow, I've never been to Alberta really.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like, wow.
Yeah.
This is amazing, right?
Yeah, it was a great little community. Absolutely great community.
Okay, so what did you feel like taking this step from like sort of a small college? Would you consider maybe Medicine Hat like a medium size of a college, or compared to, like what you're doing now? It's kind of like somewhere in the middle, or is it about the same size wise?
Yeah, no, I think each time I've made the move, it's been to a significantly bigger institution.
Okay, so step one, the Northwest, and then you took the step to Medicine Hat.
Yep.
Right?
Correct.
So how was that? Like, obviously you were saying the learning curve was crazy, right? So how did you feel? How was the first few months there? I mean, yeah.
Well, the first few months was like really exciting, and everything was new, and it was all like a honeymoon stage, and it was all fun. But then, when the work started to really kind of kick in, and it was extremely challenging. It really pushed me to my limits of learning and thinking outside the box, and had to kind of build and create a whole new team, and had to have, because in Terrace, I had the luxury of being there for so long, so people trusted me.
Okay, yeah.
And I worked well with people, and people knew who I was.
Yeah.
There, I was completely brand new in a brand new position that never existed at the college before.
Okay.
Working for a new president as well, and so it was there was a lot of learning, and a new province, new language, new government, all of the things.
Okay.
So I would say the first 18 months were pretty tough.
Okay.
And they were pretty, there were times where I came home and I was like, I can't do this.
Okay.
This is way above what I can do. And then I was reminded that, no, I can do it. I can do it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I think that usually, like with the podcast, I get to interview like CEOs and CFOs and like some pretty high, some high position people. And it always seems like the story is not the same, but it's similar. As soon as they start to decide to get out of the comfort zone, then they decide to kind of like, I think at that point, same as you're like, okay, I'm gonna like burn the boats, right? We just say we burn the boats. There's no more safety net. I'm just gonna make it. I'm just gonna make this happen.
Yeah.
The same thing happened with us with the restaurant. When we really started to do well was when we decided, I'm just gonna make sure this works. I'm gonna do this or I'm gonna die. Right? I'm not going to go back and teach English. I'm not going to go back and coach soccer. There's no more safety net. I'm going to do this or I'm going to die. And then from then on, it started to really, your brain is a pretty powerful thing, right?
Yes.
As soon as you put yourself into that, like a fight or flight sort of situation, your brain goes into like, okay, this is how I learn how to get more customers in. This is how I learn how to be a leader, because I grew up as a really shy person, obviously.
Yeah, you did.
And when I go to Taiwan and I tell people that I grew up like a really shy, introverted person, nobody believes me.
That's
They're like,
why
no
we were
way.
stunned as a family when you left.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you started doing all of the things you started doing because it just was such a shift from how you were when you were growing up, and it just it was amazing to see it happen.
It's pretty like, it's hard to say, but like people they don't believe it, first of all. And I felt like after about a month in Taiwan, it was really quiet. I was really quiet, and I was like, man, I really need to do something. So I have to really push myself, or I'm just gonna go back in 6 months, And so I started to push it, and then slowly I became like the guy who just says yes for everything, I can't figure it out. I don't know how to do it. I just say yes. I'm like, you know what? Yes. And then I figure it out, like, how do I do this? Yeah. Just say, can you help me do this? I go, yes. Yeah. And then I just figure out how to do it. So it's been, it's been a pretty cool part of my upbringing anyways.
Well, and of your whole development as a person, right?
Yeah, I think it's been good. Yeah.
As a boss, an entrepreneur, that spirit, that entrepreneurial spirit.
It's a tough one because sometimes, you're this quiet person and then you're not really this, you don't really think you're this leader person, but then you really push yourself and you kind of like grind it out, same as you, to try to become this leader, because if there's a corporation or a business and there's no leader, then it doesn't really last, right? Mm-hmm. So I had to learn how to be a leader. I had to learn Facebook ads. I had to learn all that stuff to just be like, make sure the place is full. And now it's going pretty good. Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty happy. Yeah. Some people don't know that the funny, ironic thing is that the school you're at now, VIU, is the school I went to in college, which is amazing. Yeah, beautiful college. True. It used to be Malaspina. Yeah. Changed to Vancouver Island University, right? Yeah. So tell me, before we jump onto VIU, maybe you can tell me some of the duties that you had in Medicine Hat. Some duties that maybe there's a story or something in there somewhere that you're like, what?
I think one of the things that that Medicine Hat really taught me, in my portfolio at Medicine Hat, I had both athletic. I had a whole bunch of student services, all of the student supports that. All of the things that support students through the college process. Yep. And one thing that was new there was the athletic program. Okay. So a very competitive athletic program. And the international, I was responsible for international education at that institution. Okay. And so that, for me, was another huge learning curve, because the processes are different, the visa applications are different, everything is different, and learning to support an international student in some ways. Mm-hmm. But what I was really able to do there that I was really proud of was I was able, the way that it had been running before, it was kind of like a separate entity. Okay. And I was able to even relocate some of all of the international education services into the center core of the college where all of the student supports are. Okay. So that it didn't feel like Canadian students go here, all the others go there.
That's great.
It was that kind of environment of like, once you're a student, you're a student. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to really work hard. It's really important for me that everyone feels like they're accepted in all parts of all the institutions and anywhere that I am. And so that was one of the things that I felt, that I felt I had a really good hand in creating at MHC. Cool. Yeah.
That's beautiful. So moving on from there, what was the opportunity to move back to BC, back to like Vancouver Island? What was kind of the, you were there for 5 years, right, in Medicine Hat. Yep. So what was like, okay, I've got this opportunity to go back. What was that story or situation maybe?
So I had managed to publish a few articles and did some international presentations at conferences on enrollment management and recruitment and retention initiatives of students. Nice. And so that started to get, build a bit of a name for me with some of the... Love it. With some of the headhunters from other companies. Oh, beautiful, yes. And so I did get a call from the company that VIU had recruited to find their next vice president of student affairs. Beautiful. And so they we had a conversation, and they said, they're really interested in learning more about you. Your name keeps coming up when we get recommended. Okay. And that's kind of like weird to say and also weird to hear.
That's also it's encouraging and gives you confidence.
Yeah,
for sure.
I mean, it was
flattering.
It was, but I was also like, oh my God, what are they talking about? Okay. Anyways, and so then the search firm decided to put my name forward as a recommendation. So I had to, go through the process, which was a really, really intensive process. It was about 8 months long. Okay. And so I had to have, I said, give me some more information. They sent me the profile of the job, what it looked like, the wage, all the things that I needed to have in order to make a decision for me to uproot my family again. Okay. Yeah. And to move everybody back to BC into a whole new community. And so it was a pretty intensive process. And so when I had, again, another conversation with my husband, with Rob.
How did that go? Because you were, I want to say quickly, you were kind of like, you did it, you moved out, you took the job, and then it was like, oh, wait a minute, we're going to go back to BC like 4 or 5 years later, right? So how was that process?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of things behind that, because moving from province to province within Canada is a huge feat. Like, you have to redo everything. So
driver's licenses and all that? Or
everything,
no?
Driver's license, medical insurance, your license, like everything.
Okay.
So there's all those logistics. But for me, it was the fact that, Isabella, our daughter at that point, had now graduated high school.
Oh, okay.
Austin, the oldest one, had already graduated a few years before that.
Okay.
And Matt was at that age where he was going into grade 9. So if we were going to make a move, it had to be at that time.
Okay. Perfect timing.
To give him enough time to make friends in his new community.
Sure.
So that he could enjoy his high school experience too.
Sure. How did he do from changing from school? Grade 5, so that means he went 5 years. He went about grade 4 to. So grade 4 to. So that's cool, because when you're really little, it's probably easier.
That was
right?
super easy for him. He was he made some friends at school, made some friends at hockey, made some friends at soccer. He was fine. The older you get, though, it's harder.
It's tougher. Yeah.
And so we decided, the Vancouver Island was always a place.
Sure.
Right, that we always thought we would like to come here to retire. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so when this position opportunity came up, it was an opportunity for us to get here sooner than we thought. Okay. And and so I said, well, you know what? Who knows? It's a pretty well-known school. The competition's probably is going to be pretty fierce. Yeah. We'll see how it goes.
Okay. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. And and so then when I was invited and kind of went through 5 or 6 interviews. Okay. And then came here for a 1-day interview and had to do a full presentation in front of all of the people that would be in my area at the university. Okay. Rob came with me that time, and he kind of scoped up the city and the island and was like, wow, this is actually prettier than we thought. Yeah. And so I left. He picked me up at the end of the day and he said, how do you think it went? And I said, I have no idea. Okay. I have no idea. And then that was it. And then how long
after that? A couple of weeks? Did they?
I think it was around 17 or so days. Like, it was. They said it would probably take about a month. Okay. And I was heading into a meeting at MHC, and my phone rang, and it said Vancouver Island University on it. Okay. And my heart just kind of like, boom, 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 like, and I thought, okay, well, they're phoning sooner than they said, so they're probably going to say thank you, but we're going to go with the other person. Yeah. And so when they called, and I answered, and they're, do all the pleasantries, and they said, well, Irlanda, we've gone through the process, and you came out on top. We would like to offer you the position. Okay. And would like to invite you to start having a conversation about contracts and stuff, and consider accepting the position. And I was just like silent. Okay. Like, I didn't even, I couldn't even believe it. Okay. And so they actually said, are you still there? Okay. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm still here. And I said, well, I need some time to, talk to the family, process all the things. Of course. And so then that's just kind of how it happened. Okay. It's beautiful. Yeah. So how was it breaking the news to the family? How did they feel? We had quite a conversation about it. Austin, the oldest one at that point, was going to school in a community about 2 hours away. Okay. And he was kind of like, well, I think I'm going to stay. Okay. And at that point, he was like 21. 21, okay. And so I thought, well, I can't really force him to come with me. Yeah. Isabella, ironically, had been accepted and had already applied and been accepted to VIU. To VIU, oh wow. Before I got the job. Okay. And so she was already going to be coming. Wow. And and then Matt, the youngest at the time, he kind of looked at me and he said, okay, we'll do this one more time, but please don't do this to me again. Okay. Yeah, but everybody was pretty good about it. Okay, so from then on, when you got the call, how long was it to the call to you're actually like, we're leaving, we're moving? So I got the call at the end of April. Okay. And I started in my new role on July 8th. Okay. Wow. Yeah. So not very long at all. Okay. Yeah, so you were in day one of work, July 8th. turnaround. Yeah.
Okay. So and now you are the vice president of student affairs.
I am. Yep. At the university. Yeah.
So what does it take? What is it a daily? What's a day look like? A regular day of a vice president of student affairs at VIU?
Well, the beauty is that there is no regular days.
Okay.
Everything is always different because we never know what's going to happen.
Okay.
In my role, I have everything from the academic advisors who help students pick their courses, get them in their classes, to counselors who are, of course, responsible for mental health and wellness, which we take very seriously at the university.
Sure. We
have support for Indigenous students as well, so offering our Indigenous students specialized support so that they can be successful in school. We also have the conduct and care area, which is anytime there's a student who, who breaks the conduct rules, or there's any of those kinds of behaviors that need a little extra attention.
Sure.
That's also in my area.
Okay.
I work a lot with the student union. We also have athletics, so there could be stuff happening with our super competitive, high-ranking Canadian national
Mariners, right?
Gold
The VIU
medal
Mariners.
Yeah, amazing program. Shout out to the Mariners.
Nice.
So there could be that. Then there's also meetings with the president and the rest of the executive team. There's budgets, there's planning. It can be a whole array of really so many things. We have financial aid in the area. We have accessibility services for students who learn in unique ways, and how do we support them in the classroom. I work really well with all the faculty and the professors at the university. So any day, any time, it can be anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what are some of the steps you guys take? You were just mentioning mental health, right? That's really an important thing. So what are some of the steps you take to promote mental health awareness and stuff like that? Yeah,
we take that really, really seriously. Post-pandemic, we've seen that students have come back to the university in a really fragile mental state.
Okay.
And
so through the pandemic, you were going. Yeah. So through the pandemic. So prior to the pandemic, we always had students that needed extra support, and the support sometimes were up and down depending on the cycle of the classroom and what was happening there. That's always been a part of the university student experience. Post-pandemic, we found that it almost doubled the amount of students that came forward that needed extra support, that had increased anxiety, that were fearful. Or had some social anxiety or disorders. That has really grown at the university, and it's a university across Canada. Yeah, everywhere.
You're right. So I think the whole world.
Yep.
And so we have so we have a group of counselors who are on site that provide ongoing counseling and support. We have the BC government has a 24-hour service that is either text, chat, call, whatever works, and you find a counselor 24/7. And it's free for all students in BC.
Nice. Okay.
We also have a lot of promotions and programs that talk about how to take care of yourself, how to incorporate physical, emotional, spiritual, and mental wellness into your day, so that you're not. So that you're really learning ways to cope and learning new strategies to learn. We have a lot of events on campus. We have a program where we call our wellness peers, our group wellness peers, and so we have students from VIU who are trained, and they sit in the library in the evenings. And if a student just needs to talk to someone, they can go and have a conversation with them.
Oh, that's cool.
And it's just a conversation that can be super light, or if it gets super heavy, then the wellness peer counselor will connect them to more specialized services with a professional. Our library at VIU is open 24 hours. So students can go and just tap their card and get into the building. And so that helps us. That's helped students, because a lot of the times we find that students tend to sleep longer in the day, and the time that they're most productive, which is ironic, is in the middle of the night.
Really?
And so we have quite a high use of students using
at 3 a.m.
and 2 or 3 a.m.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you find people maybe go and take a nap in there? Or?
Sometimes they do. Sometimes they do. And that's okay too. We've never had any
Yeah.
vandalism. Nothing has ever been broken.
Okay.
Even through the pandemic, we kept it open like that.
Okay, really?
We were practicing, of course, the social distancing.
Social distance,
But,
yeah.
And the, everything was set up in that way, but
Okay.
there was still access.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Wow, very
So
cool.
we really take it seriously. We have supports for like financial supports in case that's the reason that someone's
Yeah.
having an experience or experiencing a mental.
Yeah, that's tough,
A
always.
mental situation, mental health situation. So there's a lot of really great things that are happening.
So you're saying that sort of the people that needed help doubled, right? So how did the university cope with all of a sudden the demand is double?
Yeah.
So how did that work?
Well,
Obviously, it's a tough one. Yeah, that's very tough.
Yeah, I think exactly kind of how I said. So we implemented new programs.
Yeah, okay.
The province also saw that this Here to Talk program, the 24-hour line, was really important.
Okay.
We have programs where we have a lot of student leaders
Okay.
in different kinds of programs throughout VIU. For example, the students are living in residence. There's
Okay.
resident leaders there as well who are
Okay.
also trained in things like ASSIST, which is suicide intervention training,
Okay.
psychological first aid training,
Jeez, okay.
sexual violence training. So
Okay.
we've got all of our peers all of our peer groups at the university are trained in a lot of different ways.
Okay.
Most of those roles are volunteer, so
Okay.
the students do it because they're interested in it, because it's going
Okay.
to be part of their career.
Okay.
But it gives them great learning, and it
Yeah.
also gives them great references and all of
Yeah.
those things. So that's a really good example of experiential learning
Yeah.
that happens at VIU.
Okay, so that's I think that's great for students because there's always somebody who needs to talk, and sometimes it's tough to find. I think especially it's come to light recently that for men sometimes it's like men have a hard time, because people think, oh, it's really machismo, right? People
Yeah.
think, well, you're a man, you just don't talk, right? So I think that now people are kind of realizing that men and women, they need to talk sometimes, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really, and that's another thing that we're working on too, is really kind of destigmifying that.
Yeah.
Demystifying that men don't have emotions and aren't able to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
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 So how did you leverage technology and sort of digital resources to kind of enhance student engagement and stuff like that? So I guess go ahead. Pandemic, you guys probably went online, right? Or talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So. I mean, like the whole world, we had to shift within a week or 10 days to completely online. And it was great in a lot of ways, but it also presented a lot of challenges.
Sure, of course.
Because one of the things that students really look forward to, particularly in year 1 and 2 of a university experience, is they want to be connected.
Yeah.
They want to have fun. They want to meet friends. They want to do all of those things.
College life, dorms,
Absolutely.
maybe. Yeah.
Absolutely. And so with everything being shut down and we're in quarantine and you can't go out and all of the things that were happening in our world, we had to really, really think outside of the box of how we were going to try and create an engagement experience for students.
Mm-hmm.
And so technology absolutely helped us do that.
Okay.
So we have a group within Student Affairs. It's called the Office of Co-Curricular Engagement and Learning.
Okay.
And that team really was led by one of our faculty folks.
Okay.
But then a lot of other students wanted to volunteer to say, hey, I've had a great experience at VIU.
Okay.
It's going to be super crummy for these newcomers, so how can I help make it better?
Sure.
So within that, we had we had a whole bunch of online games. We did fireside chats.
Oh, cool.
Where
Okay.
we would have things on Zoom. We did.
I was going to ask that. So Zoom was massive, right?
Zoom
kind of
yeah,
saved
absolutely.
the day.
Zoom was super, super critical. We had the fireside chats. We had. We even created escape rooms with campus tours, and so there was you could pick a player, and then that student would walk around, and it was
Wow.
like a scavenger hunt, so you could at
Okay.
least get a sense of what the university campus looked like.
That's cool.
And so there was a lot of really great innovative thinking that didn't come from me, but came from the team and the
Okay.
students,
That's
and they
pretty
did
creative.
a fantastic job.
Wow, that's amazing. So that sounds pretty good. I mean, I think the escape room thing it's a really cool and unique idea to get people out and checking things out and kind of gamifying
It's exactly
the first year, right?
It's exactly what happened. It was a really, really smart thing for them to do, and of course the students who were leading them loved it.
Loved it. Okay.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
really cool.
Yeah, it was really cool.
So can you share the vision for maybe the future of student affairs at the university, stuff like that? Maybe the next few
Yeah.
years, what's kind of a vision that you have for what do you think that you can, what will happen at VIU in the next maybe 5 to 10 years?
Yeah.
You have
in what was it, April of this year, we finalized and finalized a 5-year plan for student affairs at VIU, and it was approved. It's the first plan of its kind at the institution, so it really maps out what the next 5 years are going to look like, or what we hope it looks like.
Sounds good.
And so it is around 5 areas of focus.
Okay.
And one is increasing wellness, student promoting career and transition to the workplace.
Okay.
Honoring Indigenous ways of knowing and learning.
Nice.
Really enhancing our commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Okay.
And increasing access.
Okay.
And so all of those, of course, are really big phrases.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of work that is done within those areas. But I think one of the things that we're really, really looking forward to bringing to VIU is when we're talking about the diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Sure.
It's not just about culture, race, and ethnicity, which is super important.
For sure.
But it's also about access for all able-bodied and non-able-bodied folks. Mm-hmm. It's for creating a community of safety for our two-spirited LGBTQ+ community.
Okay.
It is really creating a university where our systems and our policies are looking at how we do things, and they're written in a way that's looking at it through a gender-based analysis lens. I think that's really important.
Okay.
And so there's a lot of great work that is going to happen over the next 5 years at VIU. It's going to be a lot of work.
Sure, of course.
But
all think it's going to worthwhile things are. Yeah.
I think it's really going to help set us apart, I think.
Cool. Excellent. Yeah. So I have one more question. The last time we went yesterday to take a little buzz around and check it out, it seemed like there were some international sort of students coming in and checking it out. And when I went there, like a long time ago, there were also quite a few international students. So is that growing? Is there a way to kind of attract international students? Because people always ask me, I want to go to Canada, I want to go to Vancouver or Victoria, and I always recommend the school I went to. And so is there some kind of something implemented for that to kind of maybe attract international students?
Yeah, we have a great, really strong international education department at VIU. And in fact, again, one of the things that I've done here at VIU is moved the student affairs offices into the international education building. So again, we're really working side by side.
Nice.
With the vice president of international education and myself. We work really closely together. And so we're always looking for partnerships with universities.
Excellent.
We do have existing partnerships in Taiwan. We just have a couple of students and a cohort of faculty that went to one of the universities.
Fantastic.
And was there just really doing a bit of an exchange and showing what we're doing here. We did. So you're right. When we were on campus yesterday, we saw a group of summer students who come in for short-term programs to learn English, to kind of live here for 2 or 3 weeks, typically 3 weeks to a month. And there's a ton of activities that are planned for them so that they get a feel of the community, of the island, of the university. But we have around 2,000 students, international students. We are, we want more, obviously, because they really enhance our campus.
Agreed.
And so, it's a great, anytime anyone wants to have a conversation, I'd be happy to do that. Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah. So I think that's about it. I just do you have anything that you wanted to add before we call it? Just before we cut it off, I want to let you guys know, if you guys are curious about checking out VIU, I will leave a link in the description below, and I will even leave my sister's email in there. And you can email her directly, check it out, and it's a great place. I went there, I love it.
Yeah.
But before we cut it off, do you have anything you want to add?
Oh, there's so many things.
Okay, go for it.
So, our journey here, our journey as a family.
Yes.
Getting us to where we all are. You're in Taiwan.
Yeah.
I'm here in Nanaimo. Our youngest brother is in Kitimat, and he's working as a first responder, paramedic, firefighter in the community. And I think that we've all taken pretty different paths.
For sure. Yeah.
But we all have that. All three of us have that foundation
Yeah.
right? That our parents taught us, that our mom taught us about really hard work.
Yep.
Right?
I agree with that.
Really hard work, putting forward and doing, putting your best foot forward, even if it's hard.
Yeah.
Sacrificing everything that you need to do in order to make yourself a better person, leave the world a better place, and also create a better world for your children. Right? And so
100%.
that's what that's what I feel like we've done, or we're trying to do anyways.
Yeah.
And so it's amazing to see you doing all the things that you're doing. And,
yeah, it's tough.
and even though it's heartbreaking for us that we are so far away from you and so far away from Aaliyah and from Joe and being a part of your day-to-day life, having you here is always amazing. And now look, we're doing this from my deck at my house.
Yes, it's a cool house.
So it's really nice to see that. And I remember I have a story to share with your listeners about you.
All right, let's have it.
So,
good one, I hope.
This one might make me cry.
Uh-oh. Yes. Yeah.
So one of my first things that I learned about being a college student was that when you paid your tuition, that didn't include your dorms.
Okay.
Right? And that didn't include your books, and that didn't include everything. I thought, okay, well, I'm into the program.
I'm in, yeah.
I'm in. This is my fee. We've managed to work. We've managed to save the money. Because we didn't come from...
any wealth. We were kind of like middle-ish.
We did not come from, money. So we all saved, and I saved, and I saved.
Yes.
And I remember that I got my papers, everything was done, all good to go, and then I got the bill for the residence that I needed to prepay for the residence for 3 months in advance.
Okay.
And I remember sitting in my room, and I was like, it's like $600 and something. I don't remember. And I was like, how the heck am I going to pay for this?
Okay.
And do you remember what you did?
I remember somewhat, but I don't know. You can say. I don't want to say it. I do remember, but you can say it.
You were working at PharmaSave.
Oh yes, I remember that. Okay.
As a stock boy at the pharmacy, and you had got your first check.
Oh yeah.
And your first check was like $623.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And you gave it to me.
Yeah.
Just put it on my lap.
Okay. I remember that actually. Yeah.
And you said, "Here, take it.
Wow.
Go to school."
Give me a hug. Oh man. Of course. Wow. Well, I'm gonna cry.
So
Amazing.
that's who you are. That's who you've always been. And so your daughter's lucky to have you as a father. Your wife is lucky to have you as a husband. Your community is lucky to have you. That's who you are. And so I'll never, ever, ever forget that.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I actually, I do remember, but I just thought, it's normal here. No problem. And of course, you've helped me many times in my life as well.
Yeah,
so of course, it's just what we do, right?
It's just what we
have
do.
to do.
It's what we do. It's not what everyone does. So, yeah.
Wow. Geez. Okay. So, well, thank you for that. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. And I'm excited. I'm very happy to be back in Canada. And I hope the audio and everything sounds really good. It's our first kind of outdoor thing, because that was really awesome. And thank you for having us in your house. And thank you for being awesome.
Anytime.
And yes.
Okay.
Give me one of these. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys are enjoying. We are taking the trip back to Canada, and you get to meet some of my family, and you get to have some cool inside stories that probably wouldn't have been possible. And we're going to be doing some other cool things. So thank you guys for checking it out, and we'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye.